So yeah, the pandemic and the events of 2020, inevitably affected what was going through my mind when making the work. It affected how I was making the work. I was working out of my basement of my apartment, and I couldn't go anywhere. So there were certain themes from which the drawings and paintings came from. Would I expect anybody to gather this? Not really. That's where titles can be helpful and nice. They sort of offer an extra layer for viewers to better understand what might have been going through my mind when making the paintings and drawings. People might gather a sense of boredom. They might gather a sense of maybe I think with the three women in the bowl, there's like sort of, that Talking Head songs on the Road to Nowhere sort of kept playing in my mind. So, there's certain things like that maybe people will pick up on, but I wouldn't say that the pandemic drastically affected the kind of work I was making or, what I was painting or drawing, in ways that it maybe affected other artists and their practices. I'm looking at a lot of paintings throughout our history. I'm looking at a lot of folk art. I look at fashion magazines. I love the way bodies are framed in fashion shoots. I look at a lot of textiles. I'm stealing palettes from textiles all the time. I really love the way textile dye is absorbed into fabric, and I'm often trying to mimic that with paint. I think a lot of times I'm painting things that I wish I could do. For instance, for a long time I was painting a lot of musicians and pop stars, and I listen to music always when I'm painting, and I wish I could play an instrument, and I wish I could sing and be in a band. So I think that's why I painted about it for so long, and it still creeps into my paintings in different ways. In a similar sense, I love woven art, I love textile art, I love fashion and garments and fashion design, and I love repetition and wallpaper, and they're all things that I wish I could do and make, and so I think sometimes that's why I bring them into the paintings, because it's almost like, I love the idea of painting things that can't happen in reality, right? So putting figures in these made-up spaces that don't really work in real life. That's what painting can do. Drawings that inspired the title, All Dressed Up and Nowhere to Go. Really, those came out of a drawing exercise. A lot of times when I'm stuck in the studio and I don't know what to make and I'm feeling frustrated, I just start drawing, and I don't really think about what I'm drawing. I'll flip open to a random page in a book or a magazine, and I just draw what's there. And through that process, I'm often led somewhere. So yeah, that series came out of drawing myself out of a hole. I'm asked all the time about the faces in the work, and for me, the faces are the most challenging part. I'm constantly scraping them down or wiping them off and repainting them because I want them to feel just right. And I think really what I'm after is I'm trying to get a facial expression that can be read in multiple ways. So, viewers can read them as confident, as insecure, as sad, as bored, as comfortable. I think I've heard all of the above and more, and that's what's really interesting to me. I like paintings that ask questions rather than tell people things. So there's an open-endedness with the faces that I'm trying to achieve. I think, I touched upon this with the faces, but really I think the most successful paintings are the ones that offer a lot of space for the viewer to come in, and I think that's what holds a viewer to a painting, is when they can bring their own experience or their own views into the work. So I think the more successful ones are more open-ended, and that can be like, open-ended in what is being depicted, but also open-ended like in a formal sense, like the way the surface is treated or the way brush marks are visible or not visible.